The 2K World Cup finale here at Watkins, Glen. The final round of Season 15 is underway. Welcome to RaceSpot TV and the iRacing Esports Network for the final round of the 2K World Cup. I am Jonathan Burke. Alongside me, Gary Weaver. Dylan Coyle is out this week. He's in New Jersey covering the Road to Indy races, so Gary will step in. Arjuna Kankipati in the camera work, and as always, TV cameras provided by TrackCams22.com. It's going to be an exciting race here at Watkins Glen. 26 drivers. This is the final race in the schedule. We've gone from Spa to Phoenix to Summit Point to Phillip Island last week, or 2 weeks ago actually, in Brazil. And now finally Watkins Glen, the final round of this season. Looking at the points right now, Christian Perez has won 5 races and has a sizable lead over Anthony Cat, 24 points. Thomas Simon, Manuel Lucchetta, and Simon Edwards still duking it out for that 3rd place. Philip Hammer sits solid in 6th. Matthew Shinsky, Conde, Joe Osborne, and Danielle Forgarini still fighting at the lower end of the top 10 for points. Points are awarded for qualifying, 6, 4, 3, 2, 1 for the top 5, and bonus points for laps led, so there's still anything on the table. Running the classic circuit, no bus stop here, 7 corners, a lot of draft, 33 degrees track temp, very hot, easy to warm the tires up. It's a mostly cloudy day, a beautiful day here in upstate New York. We have about 3 minutes left of qualifying. I'd like to bring in my colleague Gary Weaver. Gary, what are you expecting for this race?
Well, it's going to be a 2-stop event, and with this track being the classic layout, the back straightaway is going to be actually the entire track in general at this point, it being the classic layout, it's going to be a huge hot spot for just slipstreams left, right, and center. So I wouldn't be surprised if we would see 3 wide, maybe, if possible, 4 wide over on this back straightaway here, just out of the SS.
It's going to set up a lot of opportunities, especially going into turn 5. We're on board with Anthony Cat, only 1 flying lap allowed in the 5 minutes, and hoping to get a good qualifying position. Despite him and Perez sharing 7 wins in the season, neither have a pole position, so it'll be interesting to see where they end up. And you talked about a lot of drafting. That's what I got. Looking at the forms, very few braking zones. The lowest gear you go to on a hot lap, 4th gear, so it's a very, very fast circuit.
And with this being a fast circuit as well, it's something to keep in mind, especially when it comes to pit stops, because when you come to this final turn here, you're supposed to at least enter pit road right off on that right-hand side over there. So Anthony Cat will come off that final corner, and he'll round up his one and only qualifying time with a 125.4 flat. Good enough at the moment for 14th.
Probably not where he wants to be at the moment. Although Anthony Cat has made a habit of himself this season of being able to move through the field very easily. And there's several places, turn 1 and turn 5, where there's a lot of runoff area, but in other places, like the S right here, there's very little room for mistakes to happen, so crashes could be a possibility.
And the SS, and well, at least from my experience in any car, is absolutely... Oh, what's the word to describe it? I'd say a little bit on edge at some points, because the first left-hander into the SS, well, correction, first right-hander into the SS, and then going uphill into the left turn, you're getting sometimes incredibly close to that arm cone on the right-hand side. So hopefully we won't be seeing anyone either cutting close or making contact with that guardrail in the SS, but that's definitely a little bit of a hot spot for problems that could be happening with the elevation change over there.
And going too wide in that area may be a little tricky as well, but trying to set up a good draft down that long back straight. Again, no bus stop. This is the classic version of the track. There's going to be a lot of drafting going on as we see Cat. Looks like might be trying to practice getting on the pit road here, which he is, and yeah, it's going to be a very tricky pit road. As you mentioned, Gary, 2 stops as well. Only 40% fuel allowed on these cars. So strategy could play into effect. As we just have a few seconds left of qualifying, we look at Jonathan Dance, or no, not Jonathan Dance, Philip Hammer, practicing as well, getting onto pit road.
And practicing onto pit entry is going to be a very key thing coming into this race. Through those corners, usually, at least in the regular series that runs here in the form of the NASCAR Cup cars, usually going about 90 miles an hour. So you really just have to have your speed going into pit road.
Let's take a look at our starting grid right now. Simon Edwards, another pole position this season, is fourth on the season. Enzo Canta in second. Gustavo Calvo from Iberia in third, and Alfredo Malo in fourth. Fifth, Lodo Ducati, first time he's appeared in this series. And sixth, Pablo Espez, he's been a ringer and trying to get some wins. Seventh is championship leader Christian Perez, Bear series organizer in eighth. Moving on, ninth, Philip Hammer, and 10th, Gustavo Condi, two very consistent drivers. 11th, Manuel Lucchetta, and 12th, Carl Drunk from New Jersey. 13th, George Matushinsky. 14th, Alexis Tapia Vico. 15th, Oscar Chinchala Maza, first time he's also appeared. And 16th, Edward Valerino. We already talked about it. Daniel Camaret in 17th, Brendan Hawken in 18th, Adam Blocker, first time as well racing in this series, and Daniel Forgarini in 12th and 20th. Anthony Catt way down in the grid, 21st for the number 25. Mick Watson in the 22nd position. Neil Kemp in 23rd, and 24th is Chris McGowan. Rounding out the grid, Ronan Griffin in 25th, and Hans Hoyer in 26. 26 cars lined up for the standing start. The run down to one is going to be very exciting.
And that run down to turn one is going to be almost absolute madness, especially for the drivers at the front of the field. They have, of course, a later braking zone. The drivers in the back are going to be looking to play it very, very safe on these first opening corners.
And the slipstream as well that Simon Edwards and Canta are going to be giving to their entire grid behind them. They not be able to stop some of those guys from making daring moves into one. Just waiting. Gridding looks like to be completed. We are all set for the final round. We have 32 laps around this iconic circuit, and it's lights out, and here we go. Canta immediately jumps over behind Simon Edwards, and the rest of the field fan out behind him. Edwards looks to have control of the lead as they try and single out, and looks like we're going to go through turn one quickly. 3 wide behind there. Cat looks like backing out of that, trying to conserve as best he can. Several drivers wide going through one as we now head through the iconic Watkins Glen S's. Edwards in control, Canta in second, and then Calvo in third, Malo in fourth. Looks like Gindy's doing well as we're going 2 wide. Someone almost into the barriers. That 289 car of Gustavo Conde almost whacked the outside barriers as now we go down this long back straight with no bus stop. It's going to be impossible really for Canta to defend.
It's impossible for anybody to defend in some cases as we head into the, well, what would be titled the outer loop here in this long sweeping right-hander. Absolutely a challenging corner in some cases. At some points you're halfway on the throttle, and then once you're about 3/4 of the way through, then you get onto that power. Let's take a look at Anthony Catt in the back of the field as front few drivers have managed to single file out. So everyone going to be playing it relatively safe on the corners, but Anthony Catt's going to be looking up to the front of the field, trying to make his way up there.
We saw Anthony Catt be aggressive as well at Lime Rock and as well as last week in Brazil. It's going to be interesting for sure to see him move through the field. He really does want to stay in this championship fight. He was down 24 heading in as Canta leads the first lap from Simon Edwards. It looks like everyone's kind of calmed down right now, taking it easy, trying to manage everything.
Managing everything is going to be a key thing, but unfortunately for Enzo Canta, and it's going to be a very much recurring pattern. You see here, Edwards getting that run on the exit of the SS, moving out to driver's left-hand side of Enzo Canta, and this long back straightaway, pretty much about midway through the SS, all the way through this long straightaway. It's going to be a very key thing, but the thing that Simon Edwards actually just did could compromise somebody if they do it later on, is take the lead very early on, going into the back straightaway. It could give that the driver that was passed a little bit of an advantage here.
Malo going wide. Looks like Pablo Espez down the inside of 5, but however, the inside of 5 turns into the outside of 6, so Malo may have a chance to defend. And he's looking actually even for more here. He might be looking for third. He might get around that 14 car. That's Gindy in that red and black entry. That purple car ahead is Calvo. Calvo only making 2 starts this season. This is actually his 3rd and running very well.
Being absolutely incredible for so at least in this race in these opening laps. And well, speaking of these opening laps, out of 32 laps, again, it's going to be a two-stop event, and the pit windows for that are laps 6 to 13 as a few drivers go very wide in the background, managed to hang on to it luckily, but the first pit window is going to be lap 6 to 13, and then the second pit window is 19 to 26, so you're definitely going to be making a two-stop race, and well, it's just a matter of time if you want to stretch it out or if you want to pit early and try and undercut the field.
And the other thing is, too, pitting in this series is much like going on a field trip when you're in 5th grade. You always want to have a buddy with you for the draft. Just look as they're fanning out right now, trying to figure out a way to go. Espes on the outside of Malo. He's looking to try and claw his way to the front of the field. Espes has been a very fast car late in this season, but has not got any wins to show for it yet. As we look at Philippe Lebert and Philip Hammer as well, looking further back in the field to move their way up, as Kanta and Edwards continue switching places, but for the most part, they're not really racing that aggressively.
It's actually a good call as well to not be racing so aggressively so early on, especially with this, but Malo, however, still continues to look for that 5th place position on the inside of that 105 machine of Espes on the exit of the final turn, but unfortunately no draft help for that number 22, so we'll slot in right back behind that 105 machine, but it seems to be in those final 2 corners it could be a potential passing zone as well.
Down the inside, Manchester 60 on Conde. They almost touch, and they're going to go side by side through the S's as they continue fighting behind him. That's Dronk, Manza, Hawken, and Tapio Vico, as well as Anthony Cat is still in this melee. You can see him at the end of the train right there. He's going inside. It looks like Edwin Valerino, and they're still side by side through the S's. This is impressive and good, clean racing so far.
And a very close moment there down the back straightaway at the start of that second group that we have, actually just being led by about the top 10, being led by Philippe Lebert, but everybody throughout this entire field as well, nearly 3 wide. That was Mazza on the almost outside of that with that overtake. Gustavo Condi also gets passed by George Matuszynski, so overtakes after overtakes here in this midfield.
It's Dronk as well. They're going to make it 3 wide going into 6. A lot of drivers trying to claw their way up through the field. And it may not be good to stay back here very long, but the problem is with all that fighting, you may lose the front pack. We've seen this in several recent weeks that the front 10 or so cars tend to break away. Right now, everyone's staying together despite all of the action that's going on.
That's pretty much a good thing for these drivers that continue to battle side by side. That's why they are still doing that, because they know that they do have an opportunity to still stay with the main pack. Although, of course, while you battle side by side more and more, you're slowly going to be dropping pace. But right now, with this being the classic layout, of course, of Watkins Glen, well, you're going to have a lot of drafting help. So I don't think that these drivers are going to be losing each other anytime soon, at least until pit stops occur.
Matuszynski brave on the brakes into 1. And he now sits behind Philip Hammer, Manuel Lucetta, a slightly different scheme this week for him. And as we look at Enzo Canta and Simon Edwards again switching places, but this time Pablo Espes has moved up into 3rd place as the 289 comes over, almost drops the 199 of Hawken, and that was really dicey for Anthony Cat. Mazza on the inside as well, and he's moved up to 15th that he has, Cat, but it's been a little dicey as they almost touch Hawken and the 289 of Conde going down this back straight. They're going into 6 right now, side by side. Cat is just kind of helpless watching these two fight.
I think there actually was a little bit of contact between Condi and Dronke there on that second to last corner end, well, that second to English properly. That would be wonderful. And that's final short sheet down to the final 2 corners there, the left into right-hander. So Dronke cutting it very close. He knows he was right there, but unfortunately he just didn't have any slipstream. So at that point, what he was trying to do, I think, is that, well, he's trying to at least not give Matuszynski enough of an advantage there for that slipstream. But unfortunately, well, Matuszynski in the 811, he did have that preferred lane, so that helped him out in the end.
A lot of these guys throughout the season, Matuszynski, Lucetta, Dronk, have been in this midfield, running top 10s, some even a few top 5s, and I think that's where a little bit of this raciness is coming from. They know they can challenge and get a few wins as side by side again further back. That's Philip Hammer. Christian Perez now stepping out. Philippe Lebert, they're about to go 3 wide. Hammer backs out of it. They're 2 wide again for the lead. Kanta going for it again, 3 wide. And Christian Perez just kind of hanging on right now, hoping to not get swamped by a lot of these hard chargers in the back.
And hopefully that won't be the case, but it's something that you really have to think about. It's almost essentially a little bit of a pack race, just of course on an oval, as I believe the 14 just lost his rear wing.
The front wing of the 2 is gone, and he is off into the gravel. He goes. You're right, the 14 of Ginchi has lost his rear wing. There was contact going into the outside of 6. What has happened to Philippe Lebert? It looked like a little bit. The 14 came up a little bit, trying to give room, I think, to Malo and Perez on the inside, and just nowhere for Philippe Lebert to go. Get an onboard view of this one. Malo on the inside, the 14 trying to defend, goes out, and a little interesting accident there. The rear wing coming off and hitting the front wing of Philippe Lebert, so that's going to set them back a lot. And look at that drifting as well. That was good car control from the 14, but now he's going to be severely hindered down the straights.
On the bright side for him, it is technically within the pit window, but although I'm pretty sure it's not within Lebert's personal pit window of what he had in mind, so he's not entirely out of the race just yet, but of course this is the earliest that he could have stopped, just not under the best circumstances.
On the 14 of Gindy's trying to hang on as he can, but he has Mastrzinski and Hammer, the 2 Germans, right behind him. Malo and Perez again side by side. Calvo, we haven't mentioned him a little bit. He's still hanging on up there. He has Espes ahead of him, and now he's got Malo and Perez behind him. And Kansa and Edwards continue just trading back and forth for the lead of the race. I'm wondering if they're switching back and forth, trying to save as much fuel as possible as well, as we see Malo get passed on the outside by Mastrzinski. Very good racing from Mastrzinski so far. I'm really impressed with his driving today.
And he's doing an absolutely incredible job hanging up here within the top 6 right now. And you see their positions gained at 7. So it is a great run so far for Mastrzinski, 13th to currently in 6th place.
There's a little contact further back. I saw the 199 of Hawking get very, very loose indeed going into the corner. There's a bit of a gap as well from Anthony Catt further back. He is the biggest mover. He's also lost a few positions. I'm wondering if that contact with him was with the 46 of Lucchetta. And I'm wondering if he had to drop back a little bit and maybe has to regain those spots.
That might be the case as we ride on board with Anthony Catt, who currently sits in 16th at the end of this little group here, in comparison to Christian Perez, who's currently running about 5th place, correction, 5th place. So it's going to be 10 positions, there we go, to gain for Anthony Catt to challenge for that championship position, for that championship win. But at the moment, he's sitting right on the edge of proverbial disaster here within the back of this group.
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing right now is that he's a bit at the end of it. There's a few breakaways as well. It looks like the 666 of Nick Watson as well, as we see Gustavo Conde looking like he's doing a bit of lawn work for Watkins, Glen, as he goes off and is able to continue and hang on. Get a replay here and see what happened. Oh, a little contact right there with Carl Drunk, and amazing save going onto the grass and hopping over the curb. That is some superb driving, but he might have a little damage. You can see a little damage on that front wing that might hinder him. He's actually in the pits, but he's all by himself. Oh no, he has Cat with him. So this may be a good strategy call from these two.
And we'll see how this does affect them heading into these next few laps, especially going into the second pit window. Again, earliest second pit window is lap 19, as we see just in the background there. Christian Perez peeking his way out. He might try and make it, well, I was going to say 3 wide, or make a little bit of a pass, an attempt to pass on Enzo Canta, but that was not going to be the case. He decided to wait it out, and it's actually a very smart move by Perez. Let these two battle out in front of him, and then he'll just swoop in out of, well, he'll just try and swoop in, try and find an opening here.
And the thing about Perez is I've really noticed this season as well, he is one of the smoothest and calmest drivers in this grid, and it's almost like you don't even know he's there for a few races. There's races where we've gotten midway through and he's not really a factor, just kind of minding his business in 7th or 6th place, but Right now, it looks like he kind of wants to make a statement. He's all the way moved up to third. As another impressive driver right now, Brandon Hawkins is in 8th. He's only started 3 races this season, has 1 DNF to his name, but he's doing very well as well.
It's a great run so far for Hawkins, who started 18th, up 10 positions now to 8th place. So we're seeing a few drivers here that start outside the top 10, within the top 10. And of course, that being Matt Suchinski as well as Brandon Hawkins. So keep an eye on these two drivers heading later on into this event, because they do look to be playing a little bit of a factor here in this final race.
At 14 as well, Ludwig Gindi in 10th, doing a whale of a job without a rear wing. Matt Straczynski's moved all the way up to 3rd, and maybe he wants the lead. He's looking outside Edwards as they go down the back straight on the outside into 5. Kanta has no choice but to back out. Edwards very, very late on his brakes. Matt Straczynski on the outside, and they're 3 wide. Kanta is still looking for a way to get around Simon Edwards. They're 2 by 2. Matt Straczynski wants this lead, and he wants it bad. He's looking to the inside. Edwards is covering it off. Enzo Kanta trying to get a bit of a side draft as they head down into turn 6, 2 by 2. Edwards retains the lead. Matt Straczynski now on the inside of Enzo Kanta. Kanta clears him as they head down into 7. And we get to catch our breath for a moment, but Matt Straczynski was going for it. He wants to make a statement. He wants the lead of this race, and he wants it now.
Yeah, it's going forward to the point where he almost actually hit the back gearbox of Enzo Kanta in turn 7, so it was incredibly close. And you see the distance between the drivers that had just pit compared to our lead group. So there still is time. There's about 2 laps left before this pit window closes, so everybody's confident that they can make it to the near end and stretch it out as much as possible.
Yeah, you can see on that map right there, Philippe Lebert and Anthony Catt, some of those early pitters towards the rear of the field right now. And they're running decent lap times, but not the fastest. Fastest actually at the end of this pack with Enzo Valerino, as Matt Straczynski again going to the outside, this time of Enzo Kanta as they head down to the corner. 2 by 2 going into turn 5. Seems like this inside line in 5 is the preferred one, but you can maybe get a good enough run if you get the draft coming out of the corner to make a pass down into 6.
That might be the plan that Matt Straczynski had right up until Enzo Kanta had moved right down to protect that lane from Simon Edwards. But that did leave the inside lane open, left side lane open for Matt Straczynski, so he'll challenge for the lead into the final corner, but that preferred lane goes to the 924, and here comes Simon Edwards powering through on the inside lane. So those two will be drag racing to the start-finish line into turn 1. Preferred lane goes to Simon Edwards, but Matt Straczynski actually does have the slipstream of Kanta, so it's going to be Matt Straczynski now up to 2nd place.
And he was a bit braver on the brakes going into 1, got really close to the gearbox, that 24 Marvino Racing machine as we ride on board, and you see the swarm of cars behind him. As Hawking, Calvo, Malo, Hammer, and Gindi still at the end of this train as well. Little bit of a gap to Tapio Vico, but he's hanging on to this group. As Matt Straczynski again, the German driver, looking to the outside, but Simon Edwards says, I want to make it to the 3 wide down this back straight, and he will make it 3 wide down this back straight. Everyone's scrambling for a draft, looking for an opportunity to gain some places. Simon Edwards with a huge momentum on the outside going into 5, but Kanta hangs in tough for the lead. And this is great and amazing racing. Very little contact so far between these drivers.
And keep in mind, pit window closes in the next lap, so it's either going to be a swarm of drivers coming in this time by, or some people have figured out a way to save a little bit of fuel with all of this slipstream that's going on. So maybe it could be possible to have a 1-stop, but I don't know about that. It would be more than likely a 2-stop, as from what we've seen so far. So this lap, not many drivers go in for now, but we have had a few trickles of drivers going into pit road every once in a while, one being Ronan Griffin. But that's pretty much it. Only about 4 drivers now have went to pit road, make that 5, 6 as Hewer and McGowan in the back of the field go to pit road. So I don't know. I feel like we're going to be seeing everyone going to pit road this time by.
The other thing too is how are they going to organize getting down there? Because we saw like at the end of qualifying, drivers practicing getting onto pit road, and these guys have been 2 by 2 for the past couple laps coming by that corner. So it'll be interesting to see how they try and fan themselves out and organize. As we look, Maciejewski again, Kanta giving him no space on the outside. Almost into the grass goes the 811 car. And they're 3 wide as we head back down into 5. Maciejewski again stuck on that outside. You really do want to be on the inside of this corner to get as much of speed as possible heading out. But sometimes if you're on the outside, you can still get the draft from the guy in front of you, and that's exactly what Maciejewski's thinking. He's going to stick behind the Italian of Enzo Kanta as he goes to cover off instead Simon Edwards. They're fanning out behind as they head into 6. Brendan Hawken making himself known. He's all the way up into 4th, and he's looking for 3rd down the inside of the British driver of the 52. It's an incredible race, and we're going 3 wide. Almost cut off there was the 52, and a bunch of drivers heading to pit road. Maciejewski, Kanta, and Edwards. Almost contact. Okay.
I was going to say they did enter pit road alone in qualifying. There's a huge difference when you're entering pit road alone versus with somebody else directly in front of you, and that's one of those close moments that you can really that you'd really have to watch out for. So 8 drivers now all in pit road. That leaves the top 11 drivers to go to pit road now, and that's who you're looking at now. So Brandon Hawken out in the lead, and there is Christian Perez sitting in 2nd. I swear, I'm pretty sure he dropped back actually a few positions, but he's, again, like you mentioned, Jonathan, is that he's just a little bit silent there. He just sits, runs his own race, and well, right now everyone is battling it out side by side down the long straightaway, trying to figure out where they're going to be going here for pit entry.
And the interesting thing too is a lot of these races, Perez tends to stay out long. He knows how to save fuel. And this time he has a couple friends with him as we take a look at Anthony Catt. Looks to be all by his lonesome. He's lost. Oh no, he's actually passed Simon Edwards. So this massive undercut strategy has worked in favor. Catt is now in front of Edwards, of Catt, of the 92. Oh no, I'm sorry, the 46 of Lucetta. So this could work out. A short stop, a undercut might be the way to go.
Well, we shall see how that fares coming into the second half of the race, as there was near contact between the 202 and the 14, Calvo and Guidi respectively on pit entry. They managed to stay out, and the 36, the only one driver that is left to pit is Kemameri. So that 36 machine will go around one more lap, and this is going to be a key thing here to see where Catt comes out compared to Perez.
A 2-second shorter stop Anthony Catt had, and he was not too far behind the leaders when he stopped. It was very, very early on in the run, as now he's ahead of his fellow countryman of Simon Edwards, but Philippe Lebert actually may inherit the provisional lead once Cammareri, the Italian driver, comes in, because he's got a decent gap between Catt as drivers are coming out of pit road. This is always a hairy situation, coming out of pit road, and then first thing you see is the iconic S's when you go up. It's going to be difficult for drivers to sort themselves out again.
Not only that, but also get up to speed, because it's a little bit slower as well. You don't really have the draft of anybody at some points, and well, the difference between Anthony Catt and Christian Perez is now by about 1 position. No, scratch that, make that about 2 positions now, but the seconds is what matters, as Lucetta is going to be making his way through. So Anthony Catt now ahead of Christian Perez as these drivers start to single file themselves back out for another long run. But now I'm wondering, where does Anthony Catt come out at the end of this? Quite literally, because, well, since he pitted early, granted it's something to think about going into this next portion of the race with that second pit stop in mind.
The only driver that was able to stick with him, though, that pitted early has been Philippe Lebert, as he's going to inherit the lead. The 36 of Cammareri has entered pit lane. Hopefully he can get back out within the draft. It'll be interesting to see when he does go, or if he tries to massive fuel stave and maybe come in with other people. The 46 and the 3 and the 924, excuse me, both teammates at Nirvana Racing with different paints this week. 46 running a bit more of a silver livery.
Now that Cammareri has went to pit road. That leaves Philippe Lebert in the lead now. Interestingly enough, again, after being forced to pit relatively early, he did last pit on lap number 7, so Lebert may have to pit here a little bit early on, actually probably within these next couple laps. We'll have to wait and see. He might try and stretch it out, but the next pit window is 19 to 26, so it's a wide open pit road for whatever choice you have.
And Simon Edwards just went all around the outside on the back straightaway again, going into 5, this time on Philippe Lebert. And now Anthony Cat is sitting in 3rd. But I think Lebert may be content to ride behind Edwards. As you mentioned, he did come in very, very early. He may just want to save some fuel, try and stretch this stint out as long as possible so that he can still be in contention, as there are 3, maybe even 4 wide further back going into 6. They're getting very, very racy and very, very anxious back here. Espes on the outside of Matt Jasinski. That's Malo as well. Not Malo, Perez. Sorry, they both have more cars. That's my bad. Out of the final corner. Matt Jasinski again looking on the inside of Kanta. Malo a little bit further back. It looks like we've had a few little now. Not everyone in a single line.
Now taking a look again at scoring, now that everything has sorted itself out, you see the gap from first all the way to the last driver on the track. It is incredibly spread out, but relatively the same that we've had on these first few opening laps once everything got settled in about 5 to 6 laps in. So now the key thing is Anthony Cat is currently 3rd place at about 4/10 of a second behind the leader, and that's going to be changing right down this back straightaway here, as Cat will be trying to challenge for the lead, but unfortunately he's just a bit too far back. But that's in comparison to Christian Perez, who is 3.2 seconds behind the leader. So again, there's a little bit of a gap as well between Kanta and Cat. So this top 3 are all in the breakaway, and even if Christian Perez did get to the lead group here in 4th place, it's not going to help him out too much. And the driver leading this group, of course, as we see, is Enzo Kanta, as Matt Juchinski and Lucetta battle it out. Lucetta could be looking to get inside Kanta, but that will not be the case here on turn number 6.
Matt Jasinski defending well on the outside. He's going to have the inside line going into the final corner. It's very, very racy in some of these back groups. Hammer, Mazza, Tapio Vico, Brendan Hawk, and Carl Drong behind them in a group, and they have been racy. Here we go, back to this action. Looks like that 60 car of Philip Hammer is on the outside of the 215. That's Mazza. Again, a first start for Mazza as he breaks going into 1. Might have to run a little wide, but that's okay. You can get a little speed going on that nice smooth area. As they now go up the S's, looks like they're going to calm down for now. Hammer looking again to try and pass him, but Alexis Tapia Vico is trying to make a run as well. These guys, unfortunately, were within the draft group earlier. Hawkins was all the way up very far in the field as well, and has had fallen off. I'm wondering if staying out later and having to conserve a lot of fuel has really hurt some of these guys.
It's definitely going to be a little bit of a factor going into, again, the second portion of this race. So
no! The teammates are tangled. Kanta has got into the back of Matt Jusinski, and the 924 and the 46 have slammed the outside wall going into turn 5. Kanta a little too brave on the brakes as he was trying to get to the inside of Matt Jusinski and just touches the gearbox right there. Gets loose and goes up into his teammates of Lucetta. The Italians tangle, and hard contact in the outside wall. That's going to be a lot of damage for those drivers. As Kanta has led a lot of laps so far in this race, and really just a little too aggressive from Kanta. Should have backed off a little bit, and this probably would have been avoided.
Unfortunately for Enzo Kanta, it just didn't go his way, and unfortunately getting caught up in that as well is his teammate. So this leaves now Matt Juchinski with a great save, keep in mind, as well, and lucky to not have his rear wing getting taken off there with contact. You see the gap between Anthony Cat and Pablo Espes, and, well, guess who's behind Pablo Espes? It's George Matt Juchinski, and right when I say that, just in the background, he's going to make his own pass for that 4th place position. But again, with this 3-car breakaway for the top 3, it's just not going to go too well for, well, Matt Juchinski in this case, or whoever's leading this 4th place group. But you see here, it's just these 4 cars now, and then it's another gap to double checking here just to make sure the 8th place position of Alfredo.
Well, the interesting thing is, of that 3-car group, Lebert and Cat pitted early. Edwards is the only one who's on the same strategy as those guys behind him. So I'm wondering if when Lebert and Cat come in, Edwards might actually be hung out to dry. He will not have a draft for a little bit as they're 2 and 3 wide going through the final corner. And Lebert is pitted, but Anthony Cat has stayed out, which that's, again, frowned upon. You want your buddy.
Well, Lebert did pit early at about lap 7 And about, well, just over 7 laps later, about 12 laps later, for Philippe Lebert, he decides to pull it into pit road. So that pitting early from that front wing damage didn't entirely help him out, unfortunately. But so we'll see if he is able to recover this. He does have just enough time, and just enough laps, I should say, to be able to make it back to the end, as this is, of course, the pit window being open. But I don't think we're going to be seeing anybody for the next few laps, just like what we saw with the first pit stop window, is that we could be seeing some drivers overshoot or coming in just at the end of the pit window, which is lap number 26.
Perez around the outside of Espes and Meshvisky to move up into the lead of this second group here. Cat and Edwards, the two British men, going back and forth fighting for the lead. This is actually a common thing among those two. These two have often been out front and often trade back and forth. As further behind, again, the pack is fighting hard to try and again catch, this mid group and catch the front group, but that fighting may hurt them. It may hurt them in the draft in the long run.
And it could definitely hurt them very significantly, although someone who's definitely not being hurt right now is Anthony Cat. You did mention that laps led do include bonus points, and if I do recall correctly, which I will be double checking, I don't believe that Perez was able to lead any laps as of yet. Maybe at one point during passing throughout this race, but I don't believe he was actually in the lead just yet. So this could help out Anthony Cat just that little bit more, even though Perez is in third and about almost 3 seconds back.
You get 1 point for every 3 laps led. Perez has not led a lap. Cat has now led 2 laps, and the points have been going back and forth between some of the top runners, but they also did not earn any bonus points for qualifying. Neither of them qualified within the top 5, so the gap is still a solid 24 points. Cat leads Perez outside the top 10 realistically, as they're 3 wide going into 5. This group just does not know when to stop. A little bit of damage on the rear wing of Mazza in the 215. The first race for him in this series, he's done quite well hanging on. Malo, Gindi, Calvo, Hammer, and Vico still trying to find a way around. Dronk and Blocker, another first-time runner in this series, right at the tail end of this group, as again 2 wide into the corner. Mazza looking on the outside and leading this group. Again, the first not an offense here, as Calvo goes the track, comes back on. Malo goes around the outside, and a few of them are ducking into the pit lane right now.
And Gustavo Condi being one of those drivers, I think the only driver actually this lap to go into pit road, so that's going to hurt him unless someone else goes into pit road. But going to be taking a look at Calvo's slide, just a lone slide, a bit too much speed, almost had it, and well, a great job just to hang on to it. Not only that, but stay relatively ahead of everybody else. Great car control over the grass by Calvo, as he is just about almost touching tires, about a foot off of Philip Hammer's left side tires. And this is going to be a great battle going down this back straightaway here within this group.
I'm wondering if Gustavo Conde thought that Calvo was going to come in, and so as many others. Many were down very, very low in that final corner, as again we fan out again. Tapio Vico looks like he's going to be a big mover, trying to look on the inside of the 14 as well as Calvo. They're 2 by 2 again, getting very close to each other's gearboxes, but again, only one real incident that involved the 2 Marverna drivers, the 2 Italians of Lucetta and Anta, were the only 2 so far to have major incidents in this race. As everyone kind of calming down further ahead, this main group is where a lot of this action is going on right now.
And just hovering at about the 6th place position, Anthony Cat to pit road. So he's going to be the lone driver as well. And we'll see how this affects him. He is just able to be within the pit window, of course, as well. So this could help him out, but look at this. Simon Edwards all on this lone sim. You mentioned earlier as well, Jonathan, is that if anyone else did pit, that Simon Edwards would be left out all on his own. Well, now he is, and that's the gap to Espes in second, as well as Perez, who's just sitting behind Espes by about 1/10 of a second. He'll actually be battling him out across the back straightaway here, Perez will.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how quickly they close up. It looks like Anthony Cat has exited the track within distance of Philippe Lebert. those two were working together earlier, so maybe they can get a draft and still be contending. Again, 3 wide from this back group. Tapio Vico now again on the inside. The 202 trying to hang tough of Calvo on the outside. He's done a very good job defensively to stay ahead of this group, but they're still 2 by 2, and they're kind of losing touch with that group of cars ahead of Perez and Matushinsky.
Yeah, the more they go side by side, of course, the more they slow down, especially through these corners where the outside lane, being the exit lane, is being taken away. And in some cases, especially from Mallow, who could have carried a bit more speed, but unfortunately, he did have Vico out to his outside. To pit road goes Calvo, as well as Edwards just up in front of him, and Alfredo Mallow as well in pit road. So a little bit more staggered of the field, a few more staggered decisions for some drivers thinking, well, I could pit at this time a little bit later on instead of pitting right at the end. So it's another thing to keep in mind, as now it's your top 3 of Espes, Perez, and Matushinsky. Now have to see where Edwards comes out in comparison to Anthony Cat.
A little bit interesting with that front group. They all went on a different lap from each other. Lebert first, then Cat, then Edwards. I'm surprised there wasn't a bit more organization maybe, as now Edwards comes out and you can see Cat in the background rounding that the first corner, and he is well ahead, but he's all by himself. Simon Edwards does not have a draft. Cat is now behind Mallow and has a draft, so they're going to eat Simon Edwards up pretty quickly here without any help.
Yeah, this is going to be a very quick closing gap between these 3 drivers, actually 4 drivers now that Lebert is involved, compared to Simon Edwards. But at the moment, we'll have to wait and see how that plays out, especially with this, again, this next group that's going to pit road, possibly this time around. We'll see, staying way out to the left-hand side. No one budges towards pit road, aside from the 14 of Giddy as well, and another driver directly behind him. That is Adam Blocker. So again, a more staggered decision from this field. Everyone a little bit more spread out in terms of going into pit road for their decisions.
And this tends to be the goal of these 2-stop races, make strategy a key part. We often see 1-stop races in the series. Only a handful of 2-stops in the schedule for this season. This is the obviously last race of the season. You do get these split decisions, and it's very interesting to how different strategies play out. We saw a lot of people come early for that first stop. A lot of people come together, but now everyone's spacing out. Everyone kind of has their own plan.
We'll see how exactly these drivers have their plans, well, planned out, of course, as 4 wide on the back straightaway for about 5th place. Carl Dronke was caught in the middle, and he just manages to get out of that, as Mazda as well into turn 5 we go. Philip Hammer as well. It is pretty wild for that about 4th through, not even through, but more 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. Those drivers are continuously battling that as they're still 3 wide.
These guys are battling like they're tied for the championship, and it's the last lap of this race. Oh no, the 10 car has getting hit hard. Dronke off into the gravel, and he may need a tow back to pit lane. I don't know how severe that damage is, and yes, he has been towed. And a little too brave, I think. Hammer, he was way outside of the apex, and it's into the 10. We probably need another view of that from Hammer's perspective. But it was a hard hit, and maybe Hammer has a bit of damage as well. It'll be interesting to see how he copes with it. Giddy in the 14 had that rear wing issue where it mysteriously kind of disappeared and went onto the front wing of Philippe Lebert, is now ahead of this pack, and he may inherit the lead if they put down enough fast laps.
The reason that Carl Dronke had to take a tow is that his left rear tire was broken. His suspension, more specifically, was broken right after that. So a great pass by Matushinsky, a great double overtake on the back straightaway heading into turn number 5. Perez now up to 2nd. It's going to be looking great for Perez, at least considering, well, for now, if he can get out in front of Anthony Cat by the end of the day.
Further back, behind Mazza, Vico, and Hammer, Forgerini and Kemp stayed out long on that first stint. It looks like they're going to stay out long on this one as well. It'll be interesting to see when they come in and when they cycle out. As we're going 3 wide now, Philippe Lebert to the inside of Mallow. Mallow cuts him off and takes that top position in this group. They are catching Simon Edwards at a good rate. Matushinsky has now pulled into the pit road, and it looks like he has someone else with him behind him. I believe that's Mazza in the 215.
Matruchinski, that is correct, Mazda, as well as Daniele Forgiurani as well, including the 81 of Neil Kemp in the pit road. So now this leaves out your top 5 drivers that have yet to go to pit road, and by looks of where Anthony Catt is positioned, he might get shuffled back, actually within the front 5 drivers when they go to pit road. So we'll see if everyone all has that same plan to go to pit road. But Espes does have other ideas, as he does get by Perez for the lead on the back straightaway. Looking at the back of George Matruchinski going up through the S's at the moment, and well, Matruchinski not exactly in the most of prime positions in that 811. He has no help in front of him, so it's going to be Mal and Leibert going side by side.
Yeah, Matsushiki did come out ahead of this group, which is very key for him, but now Leibert looking to the outside of 5, and it's time and time again so far today, that's not really worked out for many a driver. They're 3 wide behind them. Catt looking to the inside of the 202, not able to gain the place as we head down this short chute into turn 6. They have been closing up on Simon Edwards. It's like a stampede going for the bull ringer or the bull master right now. Espes and Perez again staying out. They're saving a lot of fuel. I'm wondering if they're just going to come in and do a quick splash, quickest pit stop they can.
Espes and Vico going to pit road. So yeah, that's looking to be the plan, is that they're going to be trying to get a quick splash of fuel going into these final almost 4 laps the next time we cross the start-finish line. But Perez has no help. Philip Hammer is all in his lonesome as well, and that is the same for 3rd place of Daniela Cameri. So it's the top 3 again, all spread out, no help. This could hurt them, but we'll wait and see here.
Interesting to see how much fuel Perez has been able to save if he can get a quick splash. And Espes is now ahead of Simon Edwards, which is key, but Edwards now finally has a draft. He hasn't seen a draft in quite some time, as they're 3 wide again. Matruchinski down to the side of Anthony Catt is trying to get close to Philippe Leibert. Mallow looking to the outside of Catt. The 202 of Calvo trying as well to stay with this group. Championship leader Christian Perez is in. We're expecting Hammer and Camerari as well in this lap. It'll be interesting to see where they cycle out. Espes and Edwards gapped this back group. They're going to need to organize and stay single file if they want to catch Espes and Edwards now that they have a draft together.
Going through the final 2 turns are both Espes and Edwards. And just now the 36 is getting into his pit box. Christian Perez leaving his pit box at the end of pit road. He's out, although Edwards and Espes have gotten past. There's Christian Perez, and he's going to fall just in front of George Matruchinski with no help, keep in mind. Anthony Catt is within this next group.
Maybe he can get a good enough draft on this straightaway. I don't know if he's maybe a little bit far back from the British of Simon Edwards to really get a good draft. He may be eaten up by that midfield draft. There is, as you saw on that map, a lap car, the 235 that's further back, that may also play a factor for Guarini. A slow stop for them. So that may come into play as well if they get caught. Edwards to the lead of Espes. Perez kind of in the middle of no man's land. They're 3 wide again. Matruchinski looking to the inside of Leibert. Catt looking to the outside. Mahler just kind of hanging tough, trying to pick a lane to go.
Mallow's just sitting here just wondering, what do I have to do, because all the lanes are being taken away, and Anthony Catt forcibly taking away that lane from Matruchinski to get alongside the right-hand side of Philippe Leibert going into turn number 6, and he will be successful. He could go on the back straightaway. He does it on the entry of turn 6. He knows that Christian Perez is practically almost directly in front of him, so Catt on a hard charge right now.
He's doing all that he can, but again, unfortunately right now with a 24-point lead, he really needs Perez to start struggling, as we see Gustavo Conde way to the inside and then back into the draft group, trying to really break the draft, as now we have just 3 laps to go. Edwards and Espes, the 2 main contenders for the win right now. Perez is catching him. He's trying his best to hang in tough. He's slowly been clawing away at it. Maybe he can get back up there before getting eaten alive by that mid-pack.
Yeah, Perez is within striking distance. He was able to gain about a 10th last time. Look at through the middle, almost making contact. That almost went absolutely wrong.
Felipe Lebert was
with a very daring move.
Felipe Lebert was in the grass. Malo a bit brave as they're now 3 wide going into 5. The 14 of Guinea has backed out a little bit, and I understand why. It's getting very, very racy. They'll leave each other room off into the grass is the 202 of Calvo, cutting a few daisies before they head down into 6. Cat has the preferred line in the 22, but the 202 has a preferred line in him. Calvo looking to the inside wisely, backs out of it this time, but now has to worry about Malo and Maciej on the outside. Up front, it's still Espes and Perez and Edwards. Perez slowly chipping away, but it may not be enough to really get that draft going again.
Now, the thing that Perez has to keep in mind is that if Simon Edwards does get by, if Simon Edwards gets by Espes, well, Espes is going to have to keep in mind that, well, I can't pass him back right away, especially when we're at 2 laps to go. He's going to have to, that 105 machine is going to have a very, very prime position, preferably, of course, out of turn number 5, but Perez still closing that gap. Now it is 0.6 seconds as they head to the back straightaway, as compared to 1.1 seconds the last time they were exiting the S's. So Perez within striking distance as Espes is getting past Simon Edwards currently in the lead as we head down the back straightaway again into turn number 5.
Malo brave going to the outside. He was cut off by Felipe Lebert. He's now on the outside of Anthony Cat. These are still for points paying positions. Some of these guys still in contention for a few spots, and some of these guys like the 14 and the 202 who haven't been around very much times in this league just kind of want respect and want a good top 10 finish. They're 2 by 2. Again, Perez has caught Espes in that mid-pack, has been fighting hard. Looks like Gustavo Conde has a little bit of front wing and rear wing damage. Looks like there's been an incident with that mid-group. Valero is now the head of it in 10th place. They're side by side as they go through 6 for this mid-pack. Cat looking to the inside of the final corner on Felipe Lebert. Doesn't have an opportunity. He does get past Alfredo Malo, though. And again, like I said, that lap traffic may come into play as we are at 2 to go this time. Or the final lap. White flag, actually. That's my bad. I can't count. White flag. 3 drivers in contention for the win. Edwards, Espes, and Perez. If something goes wrong, however, this mid-pack is ready to pounce and attack. Edwards has a good lead as they slot through the S's right now, going onto this back straight. Long back straightaway, easy draft for Espes and Perez. It'll be interesting to see which way they go.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did decide to make it 3 wide.
I would not be surprised. It's the final lap, and I think Perez wants to put an exclamation point on this possible championship season. Espes to the outside of Edwards. Edwards, nothing he can do. Perez is now to the outside of Edwards. Is he going to be able to pass? They're 3 and 4 wide behind, further back.
Huge crash further back. Unfortunately, Anthony Cat involved in that crash. Espes trying to bring it home and trying to get by Simon Edwards. Edwards going to have a last-ditch effort into turn number 7. Looks to the inside, no dice, and that means it's going to be Pablo Espes in the 105 with a great pass for the lead. He'll come home in first. Second place, Simon Edwards. I think Perez, already. Yeah. I think Perez, yeah. I thought he was out of fuel, but no, he is definitely celebrating.
Espes gets a win, and it's a hard-deserved win as well. He was a favorite at Lime Rock, had issues. He was a favorite when he got pole in Canada, and unfortunately, Maciej has damage as he crosses the line. As we head back and look at those late race accidents, all the way in the grass was the 14. And he comes back out, and it looks like Felipe Lebert and Anthony Cat get together, and nowhere really for Maciej or the 202 to go as they collide.
And it's really unfortunate for everyone here. They had a great race, and unfortunately, coming down to the last couple corners, coming down to turn 5 more specifically, they had it. And unfortunately, yeah, look at this, all the way in the grass. Held on to it, got by Felipe Lebert, and then Lebert tries to come down by the looks of that, try and slot in behind the 14 for a crossover. Unfortunately, that just did not go well.
And the 14, I mentioned he backed out a little bit early when things were getting dicey, and then he made a daring move. And Felipe Lebert was trying to give room to the 14 and then trying to give room to the 25. So look at that Calvo car. rotating in the air. That is a sickening feeling going over and over and over, especially when he ran very, very well. So Pablo Espez is your winner. Simon Edwards finishes second, Christian Perez in third, Alfredo Malo surviving a little bit of that carnage in fourth, Guinea with a little bit of damage in fifth, Philip Hammer, Edwin Valerino, Blocker, Mazza, and Matt Yushinski comes home limping in a damaged race car, but a good result for Mazza and Blocker. Again, first time here in this league, top 10 finishes, and they stayed out of trouble. And your champion for this season, season 15, Christian Perez finishes third. Alexis Tapio-Vico, Gustavo Conde, Daniel Camariri, Neil Kemp, Philippe Lebert, and Anthony Cat getting in that late race collision. Cantor and Lucetta, the two teammates getting together early on. And Brendan Hawken, who had a good start to this race, strategy clearly did not play his way, in 19th. Ronan Griffin down in 20th. As we head down to the end of the field, Chris McGowan, Hans Hewer, Carl Drunk in the 10. Calvo, I think, towed back to pit, so unfortunately will finish 24th. Daniel Fordrini in the 235 almost ended up a lap down. And Mick Watson either had an incident or a disconnect, finishes plumb last of the group. So that wraps it up for this season. Christian Perez doing a little bit of a victory lap around. He won 5 times this season. Half of the races he attended to, he went to 10 of the 12 races. He was always calm, always cool, very, very collected was this 238. And you saw it at the end as well. He was very calm, didn't take any unnecessary risks, knew he had the championship.
He did an incredible job here for this afternoon's race. Started 7th and brought it home with the last spot on the podium. Of course, he would have wanted that lead. He wasn't entirely there at the end, but he was there enough to get the advantage at the end. He kept it clean all day. It was a great drive by Christian Perez.
Let's talk about it a little bit. Pablo Espez as well. He, again, won pole in Canada. He was a favorite at Lime Rock Park to take the win, but things went wrong in both races as we see this schedule. And again, Perez has his name marked all over it. 5 wins of these 12 rounds, the most of any driver. 3 more than Anthony Cat. Anthony Cat only won twice this season. So a very impressive outing for Perez. But let's give a shout out as well to Cat. He fought hard. He was very aggressive. He did as much as he could in this race.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Cat did an incredible job where he could. Unfortunately, there at the end, again, unfortunately involved in that turn 5 crash on the final lap, but he did absolute wonders here throughout this event. Started 21st, he clawed his way up through about the top 10, and it wasn't there at the end, but he did an incredible job regardless.
No, and there's several other drivers that did an incredible job during this race. Simon Edwards was out front for most of it. Unfortunately for him, finishes second, but it was a great job controlling the pack for him. And again, unfortunately for Cat, getting involved in that lake crash. So that is the end of the 2K World Cup Season 15. We thank you all for joining us here. I am Jonathan Burke. Joined alongside me is Gary Weaver, and as always in the booth, Arjuna Kankipati. Cameras provided by TrackCams 22. It's been a great season. It's been a pleasure having me on here. Thank you, Gary, for joining me as Dylan is away. Arjuna, again, thank you for producing, and hopefully 2K World Cup will be back for a Season 16. We'll wait and see what announcements will be made, but for now, that is it. Thanks again. Have a good night.